If you own a house anywhere in Toronto in the GTA, I'm going to show you something that is not coming from the headlines, real estate ads, or social media panic. It's coming from inside Canada's banks. And right now, they're quietly preparing for something in 2026 that most homeowners don't see coming yet. Not because homeowners are reckless, not because everyone is over leveraged, but because of how the cycle is unfolding.
Canada's big six banks have set $4.3 billion aside to cover bad loans. What do the big banks know that the rest of us don't?
This isn't a prediction of a crash tomorrow. It's not a doomsday call. It's a warning that risk is rising and the pressure points are forming in very specific places, especially in the suburbs. I'm talking about GTA areas like Durham, Halton, and even parts of Scarborough. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what the banks are seeing and why they're moving now, and the one type of sale that can quietly wipe out 6 figures of equity on an entire street, even if you never miss a single mortgage payment. Let me give you an analogy that really matters here. Imagine you notice your neighbor, not the loud one, not the risky one, but the cautious, financially conservative one, suddenly building a bomb shelter in their backyard. You don't hear sirens. There's no news alert. Everything looks calm, but they're spending money, time, and effort preparing for something before it happens. You wouldn't assume they lost their mind. You probably wonder, what does this person know that I don't? That's the situation we're in right now with Canada's banks. They're not reacting to fear. They're not guessing. They're responding to data inside their own mortgage books, data most homeowners will never see. And when banks prepare early, it's never to protect homeowners. It's to protect themselves. Very soon, I'm going to share my screen and show you a real power of sale house in Scarborough, a normal family home, and explain why that single sale didn't just hurt one seller, but quietly reset values for the entire block. But before we get there, you need to understand why this feels calm right now, and why that calm is exactly what makes this period dangerous for unprepared sellers. Most homeowners I speak with tell me the same thing. My payments haven't changed. I'm managing. I'm not under pressure. And for many people, that's genuinely true today. But the reason the cycle is so deceptive is because the pain is delayed, not removed. In Canada, most homeowners are on a fixed rate mortgage. That means high rates don't slowly work their way into your budget. They arrive all at once at renewal. And banks know exactly when that wall is coming because they know the renewal dates for every mortgage they hold. This is why the risk isn't visible yet, but it is measurable. Banks don't wait for chaos to show up on the news. They stress test years in advance. They ask questions like, what happens if rates stay higher for longer? What happens if job growth slows? What happens if household savings run out? And based on those answers, they quietly start setting aside money. Right now, Canada's major banks have set aside billions of dollars in loan loss provision. That doesn't mean they expect mass defaults. It means they expect rising stress among people who still look good on paper. Let me share my screen about this article. So here's an article that talks about delinquencies in Canada. In Ontario, mortgage delinquency rates soared to record highs in the first quarter of 2025, about a year ago. This is one of the biggest jumps that Ontario's seen in the last little while. Any mortgages that had more than 90 days of delinquency surged about 71%, almost double. It's the same period a year ago. But again, it's only 0.24%, not even 0.5% of all the mortgages out there. So things are happening, but not extreme, but noticeable enough to catch some headlines for this, because the national average is still 0.2%, which is still pretty low. And the interesting thing as well, though, first-time home buyers are back. That is about 40% higher. And the other thing as well, mortgage monthly payments decline of almost 8%, which is pretty good. So affordability is getting a little bit better. But a lot of stress doesn't show up in mortgages. They actually show up in other things like credit cards. And some Canadians are getting hit by that right now, where anyone under 26 is feeling some pressure from credit card bills. So notice something critical here. These numbers aren't exploding. They're not spiking. That's why this isn't a panic story, but they are rising slowly, steadily. And they're first rising in usually GTA suburbs and family-oriented markets, places where households depend heavily on employment income, places where people bought houses, not speculative assets. Talking about Durham and like Halton and even Scarborough. This is how stress starts, quietly, originally, predictably. Here's a piece almost no one explains clearly. About half of the Canadian mortgages are renewing between now and 2026. Huge portion of those were locked in when rates were historically low. I'm talking about 1.5 to 2.5%. Pretty much free money. Now, those same homeowners are being offered renewal rates closer to about 4%. So for a typical family, that's not a small adjustment. That's an extra 1,000 to 2,000. And it's not next year, not gradually, immediately when they hit a renewal. And when that happens, people don't default right away. They cut spending, like I said earlier, usually entertainment, travel. They dip into savings, they try to ride it out. At some point, the math stops working. When people hear forced sale, they imagine chaos. They imagine mispayments, court notices, locks change. But that's not what this cycle looks like. The cycle starts with the renewal letter, with amortization cut, with cash flow turning negative. And people list before they legally have to, but after the market has already turned against them. That's why the most damaging sales aren't dramatic, they're quiet. So this property in Scarborough, it's sold for almost 1.6 mil back near the height of the market back in 2021 of April. Since then, it became a power sale and it sold for 1.3. That was back in end of 2025. And you can see this property, 5-bath. Typically, these type of properties in this area, the 4-bedroom sell for about 1.3. You can see already how it has essentially brought down the values of the 5 bedrooms in this area. And this is slowly happening in some pockets throughout the GTA. So on its own, it looks like just another listing, but now compared to the surrounding sales, this sale becomes a benchmark. Appraisers use it, buyers reference it, banks lend against it. And suddenly, every similar house nearby is being valued through a lower lens. The neighboring homeowners didn't miss a payment. They didn't panic. They didn't do anything wrong, but their leverage and equity just disappeared. And this is an example where suburban markets feel pressure first. Buyers pull back quietly, inventory builds gradually, distressed sales set the floor. And once that happens, sellers aren't choosing prices anymore. They're reacting. So what does this mean for you? It means timing matters more than optimism. Selling early in a rising risk market protects leverage. Selling late turns equity into a negotiation. Smart sellers don't wait for pressure. They plan around renewal timelines, not emotions. So you think about selling in the next 12 to 24 months, the real question isn't will prices go up? It's will I still be in control when I list? And if you're planning to sell and buy at the same time, this matters even more. Move-up buyers don't lose on price. They lose on timing. So preparation beats guessing. And planning does. So you're not doing this last minute. So this isn't about fear. It's about being early because markets don't reward hope. They reward understanding and strategy. And it all depends on the type of market you're selling from to which one you're buying to. A lot of times the markets you're selling from and the ones you're buying to are totally separate. So you have to understand how long it takes to sell and buy in each neighborhood before you start planning. And I actually have a move-up strategy blueprint, high level, in my description. Download it and go over it. And if you found this video helpful, subscribe for more just like this. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.